Medic Mind. Motivate, mentor, maximize.
Welcome to this tutorial where we're going to be focusing on flaw questions. So, what is a flaw? So, whenever you're asked to identify a flaw, you're being asked to assess what is wrong with an argument as it stands, and you will need to identify what is missing, which is preventing the argument from holding. Often, finding assumptions can actually help direct you towards what the flaw is in an argument, because often the reasoning of an argument is what is flawed. With some questions, the flaws will be very obvious and will not require a great deal of knowledge. For other questions, the flaws may be slightly more complex. We will now go through the various flaws you will have in your exam, but one thing I really should point out is that you're not required to learn the terminology of what each flaw is. Okay? But these terms are regularly used in critical reasoning, so don't worry if you don't know what two quoque means or restricting the options. We're going to be going through them, but honestly, you don't need to, remember, oh, that's ad hominem, that's slippery slope, that's two quoque. It's just to help guide you to see what the different sorts of flaws are. Okay? And if you've done critical thinking A level or you've got any experience of critical thinking, you will have seen a lot of these terms before. But you know what? Don't worry if you haven't, because we're going to go through them in a lot of detail. Now, the first one we're going to look at is the straw man. So, this is when a flaw misrepresents or distorts an opposing view with the purpose of dismissing it. So, an argument is dismissed more easily after it has been strawmanned. It involves exaggerating, fabricating, or misrepresenting a person's argument and building it to have the same strength as a weak straw man, and that's where the name comes from. Okay? The straw man is done to present the opposition argument as less reasonable, so that the argument the author is giving appears more reasonable. So, an example here. The school won't let us have a BMAT course without any teacher supervising. They're useless. They don't want us to do well in the BMAT. We should write a petition. Now, there is a flaw here because the school's reason for not allowing the BMAT course are being misrepresented to make it easier to dismiss them. Okay? So they're actually being strawmanned here, the school. So not enabling the course without any teacher supervision is to do with safeguarding and is a valid reason for a course not to take place. Very different from the school being useless. Okay? So the opposition's argument is made to appear less reasonable, so that the author, the supposed pupil in this situation's argument, is a lot more reasonable. Okay, hope that makes sense. Now carry that logic forward into this example. Okay, pause the video now and have a go. Okay, so here the answer is actually B. Trump's decision to leave the Paris Treaty is being misrepresented as him not caring for the environment. Now, Donald Trump can still care for the environment and leave the Paris Treaty. Obviously, I mean, knowing Trump, it's unlikely, but again, you're making an assumption that, oh, because he's left the treaty, he doesn't care for the environment. But there could be other reasons as to why he left the Paris Treaty. For example, expenses, politics, that sort of thing. Okay? So this is an example of being strawmanned. The next sort of flaw is ad hominem. This involves attacking the person presenting the argument rather than the actual reasoning behind an argument. Okay? So this is always when they attack the person. Hominem in Latin means man, and ad is to or at. So it's basically arguing against the man, attacking the messenger, supposedly. Okay? So an example here. The government tells us that Brexit is going to be a success and that we will come out of it strongly. But how can we trust them? They don't pay their taxes. Now here, the issue is we're talking about Brexit, but all of a sudden he or she starts attacking the government. The actual government, the opposition, the person in the opposition argument is being attacked, rather than the actual argument itself. Okay? So have a go at this example by pausing the video. So the answer you should have gotten here is A. Okay. The argument rejects the view that the BBC does not care about equal pay, based on a remark about the person advancing the view. Now, they're attacking Andrew Sanders because he is a male. Sanders could still have a view about this issue, and the fact that he is a male is kind of irrelevant, as it is targeting the person holding the argument rather than the actual logic of it. Okay? Next, we have slippery slope. So, this is the assumption that if X happens, then Y will happen, and then Z will happen. Therefore, we should not let X happen. It's literally a slippery slope. As soon as one thing starts, this thing will start, this thing will start, this thing will start, this thing will start. And it's often very, very far-fetched. It doesn't address the actual initial event, and series of consequences do not necessarily follow logically and lead to that very consequence. So an example here. If we give more places at medical school, then it will mean that more people apply, and more people applying mean that the application process will become easier, and so will attract complacent applicants, which will then become complacent medical students, and then complacent doctors. Do you see how this chain of events is very, very illogical and very extreme? Okay, it may not necessarily lead to any negative consequences, but it's literally a slippery slope in the sense that one thing is leading to another, then that's leading to another. It's very, very far-fetched. Okay, have a go at this question. Okay, so the answer here is A. One only. It is suggesting that a minor action will lead to major and ludicrous consequences. Option 2 is another flaw that we'll be looking at in the next tutorial. And number 3, it is based on an assumption with a lack of evidence. Now, this isn't necessarily the flaw of this argument because it's not really stating something that requires any evidence, if you see what I mean. So the answer is therefore A. Thank you for watching this free BMAT tutorial from Medic Mind. To unlock the rest of the 100 tutorials and all 8 ebooks, click here now.